All right. Let's dive into this piece all about boosting your thinking power. You sent it to me and it's got so many strategies. We're going to try and break them all down so you can come away from this deep dive with a sharper mind, maybe like a more effective mind. It's almost like we're upgrading your mental operating system.
Yeah. You know, it really tackles this fascinating question. Can you actually improve your brain? Or are you kind of stuck with what you've got? This piece definitely seems to come down on the side of improvement.
I like that. And it's super specific too. It's not just like vague advice. It's like a toolkit for your brain. So first up is something we hear all the time. Exercise your brain. But they don't stop there. They go into the how and the why.
You're right. It's not just about, keeping your brain busy. It's more about like targeted activities that strengthen specific cognitive functions. For example, if you want to boost your strategic thinking and planning skills, they recommend chess.
Chess. Are you serious?
Yeah. Well, think about it. Chess requires you to anticipate your opponent's moves, plan your own strategy, and then adapt to changing circumstances. Studies have shown that playing chess can actually activate areas of the brain related to planning and problem solving, and even working memory. It's like a mental gym for those specific skills.
I'm starting to see it now. It's not just about like being good at the game. It's about the mental workout that you get from playing. What about reading? That seems pretty basic.
It is. But they make a great point about reading widely and diversely. They argue that different types of reading benefit your brain in different ways.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. So let's say you're really interested in history. Reading historical fiction can actually boost your empathy and understanding of different periods. It's kind of like stepping into a time machine for your mind.
Yeah.
You're engaging with historical events and characters on an emotional level, which deepens your understanding in a way that a textbook alone might not.
I love that. It's not just about like memorizing facts and dates. It's more about experiencing history through stories. What about nonfiction? What kind of mental benefits do we get from that?
Nonfiction is fantastic for building your knowledge base, and it sharpens your critical thinking skills. You're exposed to new ideas, different perspectives. You're learning to evaluate information and form your own opinions.
Okay, so it seems like reading across genres is like a full brain workout.
Yeah.
It's giving your mind both the fuel and the training it needs to thrive.
That's a great way to put it. And they don't just stop at what to read, they also talk about how to read. They emphasize active reading, which means engaging with the material, summarizing key takeaways, and discussing it with others.
That makes a lot of sense. If you're just passively consuming information, it's less likely to stick. But if you actively engage with it, it helps solidify those neural connections.
Think of it like this if you want to learn a new language. Just listening to someone speak isn't enough. You need to actively practice speaking, writing, and using the language to truly master it. The same goes for reading.
Okay, I'm ready to step up my reading game. What about mindfulness and meditation? Where do those fit in?
At first glance, it might seem a little out of place.
Yeah.
But think about it. Have you ever tried to focus on a task when your mind is racing with like a million thoughts and worries?
All the time. It's like trying to write an email in the middle of a hurricane. Not very productive.
Exactly. Mindfulness and meditation are all about training your brain to quiet those internal storms and cultivate a state of focused attention. Studies have shown that even just 10 minutes of daily meditation can strengthen your prefrontal cortex, the area of your brain responsible for decision-making, focus, and self-control. It's like giving your brain's CEO a personal trainer.
So it's not just about relaxation, it's also about building up the mental muscle that you need for clear and effective thinking. I'm seeing a pattern here. All of these strategies, even the ones that seem unrelated, are actually targeting specific cognitive functions.
You got it. And that brings us to another essential element of brain health: sleep. It's not just about feeling rested, it's about giving your brain the time it needs to consolidate information, repair itself, and prepare for the next day.
Yeah, they actually mentioned that a lack of sleep leads to all sorts of problems. Poor memory, slower reaction times, difficulty focusing. It sounds like sleep deprivation is basically kryptonite for your brain.
It really is. Think of it like this. Sleep is like hitting the save button on your brain's hard drive. It's during sleep that all the information you've taken in during the day gets processed and stored properly. Without enough sleep, your brain is like a computer running on low battery. It just can't function at its best.
Interesting. They recommend aiming for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep per night. Is that a magic number, or is there science behind that range?
It's not just a random number. It's based on research into how much sleep your brain needs to go through all its essential nightly processes. During those 7 to 9 hours, your brain is cycling through different sleep stages, each with its own specific function. There's deep sleep, where your body repairs itself and strengthens your immune system. and REM sleep, where your brain consolidates memories and processes emotions. If you're consistently cutting those cycles short, you're basically depriving your brain of essential maintenance.
So it's not just about quantity, it's about quality too. Getting those full sleep cycles is what really matters.
You got it. They talk about having a consistent sleep schedule, creating a relaxing bedtime routine, avoiding screens before bed. All of these things contribute to a more restful and restorative sleep experience, which benefits your brain power.
Okay, I'm starting to feel a little guilty about my late night Netflix binges. Maybe I should swap my pre-sleep screen time for a good book.
You know, that's a great idea. They actually suggest keeping a book by your bedside for those moments when you can't sleep or just want to wind down before bed.
That's a sleep strategy I can get behind. Now on to the next one. Fueling your brain with the right foods. Give us the good stuff. What are the superstars of brain food?
Well, first let's address a misconception. There's no magic brain food that will suddenly make you a genius.
Okay, so no brain-boosting berries that will give me telekinetic powers.
Not quite, but there's definitely a strong connection between diet and cognitive health. What you eat directly impacts how your brain functions.
So it's more about like a balanced approach, making sure your brain is getting all the nutrients it needs to perform at its best.
Exactly. They talk about foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids like salmon, walnuts, and flax seeds. These are crucial for building and maintaining healthy brain cells. Studies have shown that they can improve memory and focus.
Okay, that explains why I've been craving sushi lately.
Then there's blueberries, dark chocolate, leafy greens. All of those are packed with antioxidants that combat oxidative stress, which can damage brain cells over time. Think of antioxidants like little bodyguards protecting your brain from wear and tear.
They also mentioned the importance of hydration. I definitely feel foggy and sluggish when I'm dehydrated.
You and everyone else, dehydration is like putting your brain on low power mode. Water is essential for countless bodily functions, including transporting nutrients to the brain and removing waste products. Even mild dehydration can impact your cognitive performance, making it harder to focus, think clearly, and remember information.
So it's not just about what you eat, it's about what you drink too. Staying hydrated is like giving your brain a refreshing drink of water.
That's a great way to think about it. The key takeaway here is that your diet is like fuel for your brain. Just like a car can't run on empty, your brain can't function at its best without the right nutrients.
Okay, I'm starting to see my grocery list taking shape. Lots of salmon, blueberries, walnuts, and water. What else? What about learning new skills? How does that fit into the picture?
This goes back to the concept of neuroplasticity, the brain's remarkable ability to adapt and grow throughout life. When you learn a new skill, you're essentially creating new neural pathways in your brain. Think of it like building new roads in a city. The more roads you have, the easier it is to get around, and the more connected the different parts of the city become.
So basically, learning keeps your brain flexible and adaptable, kind of like doing mental yoga.
I like that analogy. They give some great examples, like learning a new language, playing an instrument, taking up a new hobby. Anything that challenges your brain in a new way helps to strengthen those neural connections and keep your mind sharp.
They also talk about the cognitive benefits of bilingualism. Why is that? What makes learning a new language so good for your brain?
It's like a full brain workout. When you're learning a new language, you're engaging multiple cognitive functions simultaneously. You're working on your memory, attention, problem-solving skills, and even your executive functions, which are responsible for planning, decision-making, and self-control.
So it's not just about being able to order a croissant in Paris. It's about building up a whole range of cognitive skills. I'm starting to see why they call it brain training.
Exactly. And the benefits go beyond just the language itself. Studies have shown that bilingual individuals tend to have better cognitive reserve, which means they're more resilient to age-related cognitive decline.
So if you've been thinking about dusting off that Spanish textbook or downloading that language learning app, consider this your sign. It's not just about expanding your horizons, it's about investing in your cognitive future. Okay, what else have we got? What's the next brain-boosting strategy on the list?
You know, it's interesting how all of these strategies seem to work together. It's not just about doing one thing, right? It's about creating an environment where your brain can really thrive.
It's almost like building a house. You need a solid foundation, strong walls, a well-maintained roof. They all have to work together.
Exactly. Speaking of interconnectedness, the next strategy in this piece really highlights that engage in deep conversations.
We touched on that briefly with reading. But you're right. It deserves its own spotlight. It's not just about, making small talk. It's about those conversations that really get you thinking.
Think about it. When was the last time you had a conversation that truly challenged your assumptions? Or maybe even made you see the world in a new way?
To be honest, it's been a while. I think I've gotten too comfortable in my own echo chamber, just consuming information that already aligns with my existing beliefs.
Yeah, that's a really common trap these days. But those deep, thought-provoking conversations are like mental sparring matches. They force you to articulate your ideas, listen to different perspectives, and consider new possibilities.
It's like taking your brain to the gym, but instead of weights, you're using ideas.
That's a great way to put it. The source suggests discussing philosophical questions, ethical dilemmas, future technologies, anything that sparks your intellectual curiosity and stimulates critical thinking.
So it's not just about the topic itself, it's also about the process of engaging in thoughtful dialogue. Even if you don't agree with the other person's viewpoint.
Absolutely, and that's where active listening comes in. It's not just about waiting for your turn to speak, it's about truly hearing and understanding the other person's perspective, even if it challenges your own.
You know what? I think that's a skill I need to work on. I'm often so focused on getting my own point across that I don't really listen to what the other person is saying.
It's a very common challenge these days, especially in our fast-paced world. But when you practice active listening, you open yourself up to new insights and perspectives that you might have otherwise missed.
I'm going to make a conscious effort to be a better listener.
Yeah.
What about distractions? I feel like I'm constantly bombarded with information and notifications. It's so hard to focus on anything for a long period of time.
That's a huge challenge for most people these days. The source calls this the myth of multitasking, and it's something we need to debunk.
I'm all ears. Why is multitasking a myth? I feel like I do it all the time.
It might feel like you're getting more done when you juggle multiple tasks at once. But research has actually shown that multitasking reduces your efficiency and cognitive performance.
Really? But I feel so productive when I'm answering emails, texting my friends, and trying to write a report all at the same time.
I get it. But think about your brain like a computer. When you open multiple programs at once, your computer slows down because it's trying to divide its processing power among all those tasks. Your brain is similar. When you try to focus on multiple things at once, your attention becomes fragmented, and you're not giving any one task your full cognitive resources.
So I'm actually doing myself a disservice by trying to do everything at once. I'm like sabotaging my own productivity.
Yeah, exactly. The source really advocates for focusing on one task at a time with your full attention and intention. It's about creating a mental sanctuary where you can really dive deep into the task at hand without distractions.
So it's about quality of attention, not quantity of tasks.
Exactly. And that's where techniques like the Pomodoro method can be super helpful.
We mentioned that earlier. Can you remind me how it works?
Sure. It's a simple time management technique that involves working in focused bursts of 25 minutes, followed by a 5-minute break.
Kind of like interval training for your brain.
That's a great way to think about it. It's about training your brain to concentrate for longer periods and avoid mental fatigue.
What about all those pesky distractions? How do we keep them at bay?
The key is to create an environment that minimizes distractions. So silence those notifications, put your phone on airplane mode, find a quiet workspace. Maybe even invest in some noise-canceling headphones if you need to. It's about creating a mental space where you can truly focus and do your best work.
Okay, I'm starting to see how important it is to create those boundaries. It's not about being anti-technology, it's more about being intentional about how and when we use it.
You got it. Technology can be an incredibly powerful tool, but it can also be a major distraction if we let it control us. It's about finding a balance and using technology in a way that actually supports our cognitive goals rather than hindering them.
All right, I'm ready for another brain-boosting strategy. This one might get you moving. Literally.
Ah, yes. The final strategy in this piece is one we touched on earlier, but it's so important it deserves its own spotlight. Get moving for a stronger mind.
We talked about how exercise benefits the brain. But can we dive a little deeper into the why? What's actually happening in our brains when we exercise?
When you engage in physical activity, your heart rate increases, which pumps more blood and oxygen to your brain. This improved blood flow is like giving your brain a turbo boost. It provides it with the fuel it needs to function at its best.
So it's like giving your brain a fresh dose of energy.
Exactly. But it goes beyond just blood flow. Exercise also stimulates the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF.
BDNF, what is that?
Think of BDNF as like Miracle-Gro for your brain cells. It's a protein that promotes the growth, survival, and differentiation of neurons.
Oh, wow. So it's like fertilizer for your brain. That's incredible. What kind of exercise are we talking about here? Does it have to be like a grueling workout at the gym?
Not at all. The key is to find activities that you enjoy and that get your heart rate up. It could be running, swimming, dancing, yoga, hiking, biking, anything that gets your body moving.
So it's not about punishing yourself with intense workouts. It's about finding ways to make movement a joyful part of your life.
Exactly. And the benefits go beyond just brain health. Exercise can reduce stress, improve sleep, boost your mood, strengthen your immune system.
It really is a win-win all around.
Yeah.
Okay, you've convinced me I need to get moving. Any tips for incorporating more exercise into a busy schedule?
One strategy is to find ways to sneak in short bursts of activity throughout your day. So take the stairs instead of the elevator walk, or bike to work if possible. Take a brisk walk during your lunch break.
Those are good ideas. It's about finding those little pockets of time where you can fit in some movement.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of short workouts. Even just 10 or 15 minutes of high-intensity interval training, or HIIT, can have significant benefits for your brain and body.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired to get moving. Let's shift gears for a moment and talk about a topic that's super relevant in today's world: critical thinking.
It's more important than ever to be able to evaluate information critically, to sift through all the noise and determine what's credible and what's not.
There's so much information coming at us from all directions. Social media, news outlets, even from our friends and family. Sometimes it's really hard to know what to believe.
That's where critical thinking comes in. It's about questioning assumptions, evaluating evidence, considering different perspectives, and forming your own conclusions based on logic and reason.
So it's not about blindly accepting everything you hear. It's about being an active participant in the information flow, analyzing and evaluating what you're consuming.
Exactly. The source encourages us to approach information with a healthy dose of skepticism. Don't just accept things at face value. Ask yourself, who's saying this? What's their agenda? Is there another side to this story?
Like being a mental detective, always searching for the truth.
And the beauty of critical thinking is that it's a skill that can be developed with practice. The more you engage in critical thinking, the stronger your analytical abilities become.
So how do we train our brains to think more critically?
They suggest activities like analyzing news articles, debating different viewpoints, solving complex problems, anything that requires you to think deeply and critically.
It's about challenging your own assumptions, seeking out diverse perspectives, and being willing to change your mind when presented with new evidence.
Exactly. Critical thinking is about being open to new ideas, but also being discerning and evaluating those ideas carefully before accepting them as truth.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. From brain training games to mindful meditation to the power of deep conversations and physical exercise, we've explored a wide range of strategies for boosting our thinking power.
And what's remarkable is that these strategies are not only effective, they're also accessible to everyone. You don't need expensive equipment or specialized training to start implementing these practices into your life.
It's really just about making small, consistent changes that add up to big results over time.
Exactly. It's a journey of continuous learning and growth. So I encourage you to take what you've learned today and start experimenting. Find what works best for you, be patient with yourself, and enjoy the incredible benefits of a sharper and more powerful mind.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into boosting thinking power. We talked about a lot, from the brain benefits of chess to deep conversations and
And don't forget exercise. It's pretty amazing how something as simple as going for a walk can boost our cognitive function.
So true. I'm already feeling a little more energized and focused just from talking about all these strategies. But I'm curious, what stands out to you as the most impactful thing from all of this?
You know, if I had to choose one thing, I'd say it's the importance of being intentional about your cognitive health. It's like recognizing that your brain is your most valuable asset and then taking those proactive steps to protect it.
It's almost like taking a holistic approach to well-being, like recognizing that our mental and physical health are totally interconnected.
Exactly. We always talk about healthy eating and exercise for our bodies, but sometimes we forget to do the same for our brains.
I know what you mean. So it's about making conscious choices that support our brain function, just like we make choices to support our physical health.
Think about it like this. If you wanted to train for a marathon, you wouldn't just wake up one day and start running. You'd have a training plan. You'd fuel your body with healthy foods. You'd get enough rest.
It's the same with brain health. We got to train our brains, feed them with the right info and experiences, and give them the rest they need.
That's where all these strategies fit in. They're like tools in your cognitive toolbox. Each one strengthens a different part of your mental fitness.
So it's not about finding that one magic solution. It's about creating a brain-boosting routine that uses a bunch of these strategies.
Exactly. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. There's always something new to learn, new ways to challenge yourself, and more potential to unlock.
It's easy to get discouraged if you don't see results right away. But cognitive growth takes time.
It really is like building muscle. You don't get ripped overnight. With consistent effort, though, you'll see results.
Don't get discouraged if you don't become a chess master or fluent in Mandarin overnight. Keep practicing. Keep learning. Keep challenging yourself.
Most importantly, enjoy the process. Learning and growing should be fun.
Totally. We covered a lot today in this deep dive about boosting your thinking power. And I hope you're leaving feeling like you can take charge of your brain.
You have the power to shape your own mind, so embrace the challenge, stay curious, and keep learning.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into boosting thinking power. Thanks for joining us.
Keep those brains buzzing. We'll see you next time.